It was supposed to be the happiest day of my life. It's the day I'd dreamed about since I was a little girl, walking down the aisle in a white dress, surrounded by friends and family, about to marry the man I loved more than anything in this world. Daniel, tall, gentle, the kind of man who kisses your forehead in the middle of a fight just to remind you he still cares. The man who made me believe that real love still existed. But as I stood at the church doors, holding my bouquet with trembling hands, I felt something shift in my chest. My heart wasn't beating with excitement. It was pounding with panic. When the heavy chapel doors opened and I stepped into the aisle, that's when I saw her, sitting in the very back pew like a ghost from a past I'd buried. Her long dark hair pulled into a tight bun, expensive white dress hugging her figure like she was the one getting married, Vanessa, my stepmother, my father's second wife. The woman who walked into our lives when I was 16 and nearly tore us apart. I hadn't seen her in over a decade, not since the night she disappeared without warning. Leaving my dad broken and me filled with resentment, I never fully unpacked. She was younger than him by 15 years. Wild, beautiful, impossible to predict, and now somehow she was here, at my wedding, sitting in white. Like some twisted symbol of unfinished business, I froze mid-step. The music kept playing, the guests turned, smiling, and Daniel was at the altar, watching me with love in his eyes. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. What was she doing here? Why now? My brain was racing. Memories flooding in late night. Arguments. My father crying behind closed doors, me swearing I'd never forgive her. And yet, there she was, smiling like she belonged. My legs carried me forward almost against my will. The ceremony blurred around me, Daniel taking my hand, whispering how beautiful I looked, the vows, the applause, but I was somewhere else. Somewhere in the past, somewhere unsafe. Hours later at the reception, I saw her again, standing by the bar like she was part of the guest list. I walked straight toward her, heart racing. "What are you doing here, Vanessa?" I asked, my voice low, shaking. She turned slowly, cool and confident as ever, holding a glass of red wine like she had all the time in the world. "I came to see you," she said softly. "My beautiful stepdaughter, all grown up." My jaw clenched. "You've never cared about me. You've left without a word." Her smile didn't change. "You don't know everything, sweetheart. Don't you want to hear the truth before you say forever?" That word forever hit me like a slap. I stared at her, confusion turning into dread. "What truth?" I asked. She leaned in closer, close enough that I could smell her perfume, the same one she used to wear when she'd sneak into my dad's office and whisper secrets. And then she said it. Just a few words, just enough to destroy me, just enough to ruin everything. "I used to be with Daniel. Long before you ever met him." Her voice was almost a whisper, like it was a confession meant for no one else. I felt the blood drain from my face. The room spun. I wanted to scream, cry, run, disappear. But all I could do was stare at her, trying to figure out if she was lying or if the man I was about to spend the rest of my life with had been keeping the biggest secret of all. And in that moment, my wedding turned into a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Asterisk, I couldn't breathe. I stood in my wedding dress, under fairy lights and soft music, with guests laughing in the background, and my whole world crashing inside me. Vanessa's words echoed in my mind. "I used to be with Daniel. My Daniel, my fiancé. My husband, technically, if you counted the ceremony, I barely remembered." She hadn't just thrown a bomb into my life, she set it on fire. I stumbled outside, away from the dancing, the champagne, the cameras trying to escape everything. The night air hit my face, cool, but not calming. I needed air, space, truth. And right behind me came Daniel, his face confused, concerned. "What's going on?" he asked, reaching for me. I pulled away. "Tell me right now," I said, my voice trembling. "Did you sleep with Vanessa?" He froze. It was all the answer I needed. His silence sliced through me like a knife. It was years ago, he finally said, eyes wide with guilt. Long before I knew you. I didn't even know she was your stepmother until after we got serious. And by then, I didn't. Know how to tell you? My heart twisted. You should have told me the second you found out. You let me plan a wedding. You let me walk down the aisle knowing this. A voice broke. I felt like a fool. It's a woman in love with someone she didn't fully know. Someone who had slept. With a person I hated, the woman who abandoned my family and broke my father's heart. Daniel stepped closer. It was nothing, he said quietly. She was a mistake. I was 21. She was this older woman who wanted to feel powerful. I was a stupid college kid. It didn't mean anything. But it meant something now. It meant pain. It meant betrayal, not because he had a past, we all do, but because he never gave me the chance to choose what to do with that truth. He hid it, and now, here we were on what should have been our first night as husband and wife, unraveling. I looked at him, the man I had spent years building a life with, and for the first time, I didn't know what we were. Were we still us? Or just two people standing in the ruins of something that could have been beautiful? Inside, the music kept playing. People were still dancing, laughing, clinking glasses to celebrate our love. They didn't know that. Love was sitting outside in the dark, trying to survive a truth that could destroy it. And through the glass, I saw her, Vanessa, watching us. Like this had all gone exactly as she wanted. I didn't know if she came to hurt me or warn me. But whatever her reason, she succeeded in tearing a hole through something I thought was solid. Daniel reached for my hand again. Please, he said softly, don't let her come between us. Don't let her take what we have. I looked down at his hand, then into his eyes. Eyes I used to feel safe in, but now they felt unfamiliar. Could I really trust him again? Could I pretend this was just a bump in the road and not a crack in the foundation? I didn't know. All I knew was that the man I loved had a secret. One that had a name, a face, and a history with my family. And now everything we'd built was hanging by a thread. Love isn't just about the good stuff, the kisses, the laughter, the holding hands in public. It's about the dark corners, the past mistakes, the ugly truths. And this was one of them. Raw, real, and threatening to tear us apart. The honeymoon was supposed to be in Maui. Ocean views, slow mornings, no shoes, just love and skin and sunshine. But instead, I was lying on a borrowed couch in my best friend Olivia's apartment in Chicago, wrapped in a blanket that smelled like old laundry detergent, nursing a bottle of cheap wine. The wedding had happened, but the marriage had stalled. I hadn't spoken to Daniel in days. I couldn't. My heart wasn't ready. He texted every day, called every night. I let most of it go unanswered, except once when I picked up just to hear him say, "I miss you," before I hung up again, crying. I was in a place between anger and heartbreak, and I didn't know which one was winning. One night, Olivia slid an envelope under the door while I was half asleep. "He left this," she whispered. "I think you should read it." I didn't want to. I'd heard all the words before. But something about seeing them in his handwriting on real paper broke me. The letter was raw, honest. Not just about Vanessa, but about himself. He wrote about the boy he used to be: insecure, hungry for attention, addicted to validation. That's when Vanessa had come into his life. She wasn't just a fling. She had been an obsession. He was young, and she made him feel wanted, powerful, even when she played games with his heart. And when she left him, it ruined him for years. "I went to therapy," he wrote, "because I didn't want to carry her damage into something good, into us." That line shattered me. He admitted he should have told me everything. That he panicked when he found out she was my stepmother. That he convinced himself if he ignored the past, it would disappear. "I didn't lie because I didn't love you," he wrote. "I lied because I was scared of losing you. Hey, and I might have lost you anyway. But if there's still a chance, I'll wait for it." I read the letter 3 times. Every word felt like a hand reaching through the fog, trying to find me. I remembered the man I fell in love with. Not the perfect one, the real one. The one who held me when my dad was in the hospital, who made soup from scratch when I got sick, who looked at me like I was made of stars when I didn't even feel pretty. That man didn't match the version I was angry at. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run back to him. I wanted to forget, but forgetting is not the same as healing. The next day, my phone rang again. This time, it wasn't Daniel. 'Twas the hospital. My dad had collapsed at home, blood pressure sky high. I rushed to the ER in a panic. When I got there, he was resting, pale but stable. I sat beside his bed, quietly crying. And there, on the small table beside him, was a photo in a silver frame. Him and Vanessa, still smiling, still frozen in some happy moment that didn't last. I stared at it, confused, angry, sad. "Do you still love her?" I asked, not expecting an answer. But he opened his eyes and whispered, "She was a storm." But part of me always will. Even storms leave beauty behind. His words stayed with me. Love wasn't always clean. It wasn't always easy. Sometimes it left wreckage. But maybe there was still something left to rebuild, something worth saving. Asterisk weeks passed like slow-moving shadows. The world didn't stop, but mine felt like it had. The wedding gifts still sat in boxes in the corner of the apartment. I couldn't bring myself to return to my dress was back in its bag, untouched since that night. And Daniel, he never stopped waiting. He didn't beg, didn't show up uninvited, didn't try to push. He just waited in silence, in love, in hope. And somehow that was louder than anything he could have said. Vanessa had vanished again, leaving behind the same ghost trail she always did. No calls, no notes, just gone. My father was healing, both in body and maybe in spirit. He didn't speak of her again, but I could feel it the way she still lingered somewhere in the corners of his heart. One afternoon, I walked back into the home Daniel and I had made together. The plants were still alive somehow. The scent of him still lived in the walls. It didn't feel ruined, it felt paused, like love waiting to be restarted. I didn't expect him to be there, but he was, sitting on the front steps like he had nowhere else to go, like he'd never left. He stood when he saw me, unsure if he should smile, cry, speak. "You look tired," I said gently. He let out a breath. "I am, right. But I'd wait a lifetime if that's what you needed." I stepped closer. My voice shook. "I hated you for not telling me. But I hated being away from you even more." His eyes filled with tears. "I should have been honest from the beginning. I was trying to protect you, but all I did was hurt you." I looked at him, really looked. The man I had chosen. The man I had almost left. The man who, despite his past, had shown me more love than anyone ever had. "We all have pasts, Daniel," I whispered, "but I want a future. And I still want it with you." The relief in his face made me feel like maybe love could survive storms. We didn't rush into each other's arms. We stood there for a moment, quiet, hearts pounding, broken pieces beginning to fit again. Love isn't perfect. It's not always soft or pretty. Sometimes it's raw, messy, made up of second chances and painful truths. But it's real. And real love doesn't walk away when things get hard. It stays. It fights. Forgives. That night, we sat on the floor surrounded by unopened wedding gifts, drinking wine out of coffee mugs, laughing through tears. We really talked about everything. About Vanessa. About fear. About trust. We didn't erase the past. We placed it where it belonged, behind us. And slowly, gently, we chose to begin again. No grand gestures. No big promises. Just to people learning how to love each other better. Choosing each other even after everything. And that, I've learned, is the most romantic thing of all. Sometimes love doesn't look like a perfect wedding or a fairy tale kiss. Sometimes it looks like forgiveness, like showing up again, okay? Like saying, I still want you, even after the truth tries to tear you apart. And maybe that's how you know it's real. When love survives the lies, the silence, even the storm named Vanessa, because in the end, she didn't ruin my wedding. She revealed what kind of love I had and what kind of love I was willing to fight for.